today, guys, we're going to be giving our official review to Vinyl Days, a new studio album from Logic. So how are you feeling, man? Like, going into this artist performance, what were you expecting from Logic, and what did you receive?
Listen, Logic fucking delivered. I'm so happy that he put out an album like this, and it's crazy because apparently it only took him 12 days to make the entire album, and what's amazing to me is that it feels like the words are just spilling out of him. It feels like all these raps and rhymes are super effortless, and that was super, cool to go through for the album. And apart from that, I would also say that the way that he curated this album was super well done. That's because facts. There's 30 songs, but the album passes by like a breeze because most songs are about 2 minutes in length. And not only that, but the way that he curated in terms of having a bunch of skits with like Morgan Freeman doing the intro, calling Logic the GOAT. Then you have Michael Rappaport and Anthony Fantano dropping some comedic skits. Everything was kind of well done. And in terms of his performance, he executed, bro. You know what I mean?
Absolutely
if you're talking about his lyrical stamina, if you're talking about the wordplay, I mean, his verse at the end of Therapy Music was fucking incredible. And he has a lot of those verses that you're kind of rewinding to pick up on the bars that he spat.
Yeah, not only that, but it feels like a vintage Logic, one that's hungry to rap again and to create, this material that, gets him out of the basement. And it feels like now he's kind of taking back by it, where it's not like those mainstream performances that you'd get on an album like everybody, but, it feels like it's more stripped back, it's raw, and that he's really trying to, show how much hunger he really has in this. And I want to go over a couple of verses. His verse on Orville was fantastic. As you said, the verse on Therapy Music, fantastic. Not only that, but I believe, what is it called? I think it's on Black White Boy. That verse is fantastic, especially the first one. So, and you were saying too that, most of these tracks are 2 minutes. I don't feel like Logic overstayed his due on any of these tracks.
No,
they were
never.
Perfectly calculated, and every single bar fit for the vibe
Nothing
of the
ever
album.
dragged, and I also love the way that he kind of wears his influences on his sleeve, because this is a very traditional hip-hop album. I think the hip-hop junkies are going to love it because he's making so many references. For example, in a song like Quasi, he shouts out Madlib and has this Madlib type instrumental. Then you get a song like Bleed It, where he's sampling Beastie Boys and comes in with this Beastie Boys-esque delivery where he's kind of yelling a little bit. He sounds pressed and agitated.
Yeah, and not only that, but it sounds very brash. Like it has those vocal effects. And that's what I like about it too, is that he also seemed like he was in a clear headspace when making this album. And he's mentioned on so many different tracks how, sometimes his album could sort of, go into a different direction or dip in quality because he's not in the right headspace while making it. But this seemed like, he was ready to deliver it, and he really wanted to give fans a fantastic performance. So on that note, I do think the artist's performance was amazing. But let's go on to the content, because there's a lot of stuff going into this album, especially for 30 songs. People had questions. How was it going to translate? Were people going to enjoy it? Was it going to be a drag to go through? And I think what's cool about this album is that there's kind of an underlying concept. It's not too prominent, within the writing, but what I picked up on is that, Logic's on his last, studio album with Def Jam, and he wanted to take it back to the basement, and that's how he feels again. He feels hungry to be able, to create this rap material that his fans adored when he started his career. So what else did you get out of the track list?
I got a lot out of it. I feel like, you know what I mean? You're not going to get an incredible true story here. You know what I mean? It's not like a full-fledged concept album, but it's not meant to be. But what's cool is that he's tackling a variety of topics throughout the album. For example, on songs like Decades and In My Lifetime, he's reminiscing over his upbringing and what life was like in the hood for him. And apart from that, I mean, you get a bunch of lyricism about just where he's at in his career and how he went the mainstream route for a little bit with albums like Everybody or Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, but now he's moved away from that. Now it's the passion in his pen that's driving him to make music. So I feel like it's a very authentic album from Logic. And in terms of his pen game, there's so many bars. For example, on the song Clouds, he raps, "It seemed the art that I make over their heads like the Sistine," talking about the Sistine Chapel and how you have that wall on the ceiling where there's a bunch of crazy architecture. Or on a song like 10 Years, when he raps, "My description of how I write lyrics is off the wall. No Egyptian, flowing in code, peep the encryption." Like, you're getting some of Logic's best bars in years. And honestly, he's proven to me that he deserves to be in that top 10 rappers of the year conversation.
Yeah, he has one of the strongest albums of the year so far as material goes. And you're also going to figure out throughout the track list, like, the content is constantly refreshing. For a 30-song album, it's hard to keep that coherent feel to it. And I'm going to speak more about that within the replay value, but I do think that the content was fun to go through because it's a bit unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do from song to song. Is he going to shout someone out, or is he going to go back to his childhood? Is he going to talk about the Def Jam situation? Where is he going to go with it? Like, again, like this whole concept of, just projecting a free mind of his and really seeing where he's at.
And you
is
prefer
nice.
this free-flowing Logic where that you would get on something like a Young Sinatra mixtape, like you got on Vinyl Days, or do you prefer more like the concept-driven writing that you got in Under Pressure or Incredible True Story?
It's different. It's different logics, and I think that this just does better a bit more for maybe replay value, just because you could either go through this as a full listen because there's so much content to go through, or you pluck certain songs out because it does have that mixtape feel to it. So I think the content was great, man. It was a great listen as far as, staying intrigued into it. It's nothing too revolutionary as far as Logic standards, but that's definitely not a knock. You will have fun with this album as far as content matter goes. But all right, let's go into the features, man. Super stacked. And when we talk about a hip hop album, and you have to put names down on a short list, you talk about guys like RZA, you talk about guys, let's say like even Wiz in that, mixtape era. You talk about Action Bronson. Even Russ delivered a fantastic verse.
Blue in Exile.
Absolutely. There's just so much to go through as far as features go. And I also feel like they all had a big part to play in making you feel like this was a mixtape experience again from Logic. And he assembled that hip-hop vibe, let's say Avengers cast to be able to come through and deliver. So top 3 features for you, man.
Top 3 features. That's tough. Definitely Wiz Khalifa on Breath Control because I love the laid-back flows. Reminded me of Kush and OJ. And it was cool that Logic ended up sampling Mesmerized off of that mixtape. But apart from that, Action Bronson on In My Lifetime, he sounds larger than life on that song.
Yeah, like a Mr. Wonderful type performance.
Yeah, bro. And it's just, the references are crazy. He's rapping about like smoking drugs on mezzanines, like just... He always brings like these silly bars that are also clever at the same time.
Facts.
So that was fun to listen to. Russ on Therapy Music, of course, was an amazing verse. I thought that song was going to end up getting memed, but they both killed it, trading bars back and forth.
Because, a lot of people look at Russ and they don't respect him as a lyricist. And
I know.
It seemed like Logic and Russ, I saw a lot of people were giving backlash before going into it, but you go into that song, it's absolutely fucking fire.
If you know Russ and the Chomp albums, you know that he could bring it on a pen
So
level.
that was fantastic. Even Royce the 5'9" on 10 years.
Yep.
That is one of verses that, like, he delivered one of the best verses of the year. I'm going to say that right now. Absolutely. So how about RZA? Like, he even performed, bro. Like, that was such an energetic performance from RZA, and like gives you that classic Wu-Tang feel within a beautiful hip-hop album. So I was impressed overall.
I was super impressed. The game feature I wasn't too big on. I feel like his delivery was a bit sleepy, to be honest with you. But apart from that, all the features killed it, bro. All of them. And I also love the parts that they played on the skits once again. And also, you can almost consider Funkmaster Flex a feature because he's hosting the entire album and giving you that mixtape groove and feel.
For sure, absolutely.
That was really dope. And yeah, overall, Currency did his thing too. So I was super impressed, and I think the features were amazing. And when you have that long of a feature list, it's impressive to have them all deliver on that level. And Blue on Orville, by the way, was another fucking standout for me.
Absolutely. Bro. So, amazing rating on the features?
Amazing rating on the features. But let's talk about the production, because I feel like that was the main scope and vision with this album, was to do some crate digging, pluck out some old vinyls and sample them for the album. And production's mostly handled by Six and Logic himself, and they did a killer job, bro. They took me back to the 90s in terms of like the snare-driven instrumentals, the boom bap drums, the soul samples. Everything was hitting, and it was coherent as a sonic soundscape.
Super coherent, absolutely. That's what's impressive. Again, you're getting fucking 30 songs on here, and you're able to distinguish a coherent soundscape just with, as you said, all these type of boom bap beats, and even makes me feel like I'm in 2010 again. Getting classic mixtapes from Logic. So that's what's cool about the soundscape, and I love these type of productions, even for mellowed out car drives, and let's say even while we're chilling in the backyard after a recording, like that's what I want to use this soundscape for. It gets me immersed, and it's almost like a meditative thing where like your fifth gear kicks in on like the focus, right? Because those boom baps and those snares are just, they're keeping you driven. So I loved it, and not only that, but one of my favorite productions in the whole game is I Guess I Love It. I Guess I Love It, featuring the game. And what I liked about it is that beat switch when Logic comes through, super jazzy. The transition into that part of the production was beautiful, and it was seamless to me. I really did enjoy the sound.
That was great. My favorite beat is probably Rogue One, because he brings in the 70s funk sample, and there's also the saxophone riff, which sounds super familiar. It sounds like it's been sampled before, maybe by Chris Cross on the song Jump, or maybe by an old Wu-Tang Clan song. It had that vintage feel. Also, Breath Control, the vocal sample they used there was amazing, because Red Veil had actually used it on his breakout song Wait, so it was cool to see it flipped once again.
And then they implemented Mesmerized off of Kush and OG in there as well.
And that's what's cool, is that you're able to like recognize so many of these samples, so it's kind of like testing your hip hop IQ a little bit to see if you remember these old samples.
And I was looking at someone on Twitter saying that, you know, Logic is bringing back hip hop education to a younger demographic, and that's facts. Like, it's so accessible in the way that it's formed, because even on production wise, like, none of these songs are overbearing, nothing's overstretched, everything has a nice coherent feel. The sequencing is nice as well. I really felt like, you know, the soundscape kind of led me into having, you know, maybe a 45-minute listen instead of, you know, the hour somewhat listen that it actually is. But what's cool too is, like, you're getting that accessibility, but you're also going to be gaining that hip hop knowledge, because you're going to want to go back on who sampled and go check, you know, what ended up making this cut as far as the vinyls that were used.
And what was cool too is that when you hear the sounds of the vinyls popping from track to track, that was really nice.
Even the horns, because you see those small little things, I really appreciate that in a soundscape, because it keeps a level head to where, you know, you're at within the track.
And it adds character to every single song. So the production was immaculate, amazing as a rating, I think, without a doubt. But let's get into the instant replay value. I'll say this off the bat. To me, it's perfect. And we were talking when those singles came out, and I told you, this is going to be probably my most played album of the year if the rest of the album is on the same level of Breath Control and Orville.
I have a question for you, man, okay?
Yeah.
We have 30 songs on here. Could you tell me another 30-song album that practically doesn't have a skip? If you could name a skip on here, go ahead. I can't. I
can't name a single fucking skip, bro.
And that's what's scary about this album, too, is I feel as if the replay value is also going to be perfect for me, because you're not getting fucking 4 or 5 minute tracks here. You know, a lot of these songs, you could either pluck them, put them into a playlist. You could make certain playlists out of certain sections of the album as well. You have a mixtape feel in that album as well. You're getting album studio quality through the mixing and engineering. You know, there's just, and there's this fun vibe to the album that I always feel is super contagious throughout Logic projects. When he pours his heart and soul into an album, you feel it, you understand it, and you can't run away from it. So I definitely do think this will be one of my most played albums of the year.
It sounded like he was having a good time. Like, he genuinely had fun making the album, and that made it a joy to listen to. But give me your top 3 songs, and I'll give you mine.
Top 3 songs. Okay, let's do this. I want to go, no particular order, though, because I have to, like, maybe wait a bit for that. But I would probably go with... I guess I Love It is up there for me. I want to do Therapy Music is up there for me, and then maybe Black White Boy, Even
That's
Decades. Fuck, bro.
So
La Donda is fantastic. I would even go Breath Control.
Nezzy was good.
Dude, how could you make a top 3 out of this right now? Okay, give me your top 3 then. What do you got?
Top 3. Breath Control is probably my number 1 still. Okay. Since I heard that, I've been bumping it on the daily.
Such a great summer song.
Yeah, so Breath Control. Then I'm going to go with Orville, number 2, and number 3. I think I'm gonna feel out.
What do you got?
I think Vinyl Days, the title track.
That's a great fucking track as well.
So listen, spazzing on that.
Yeah, as Lou said at the beginning of this category, I do think that it's perfect. I mean, you're gonna have so much fun going through this album. If you're a hip hop head and if you're a Logic fan, well, it's Christmas fucking morning for you. But let's go into our overall thoughts, all right? So I did enjoy this album. I loved how everything flowed together. I loved that it was a return to form for Logic, because, you know, BT3 was, you know, full of Lucy's from BT2, and, like, you know, we kind of know where that project where it was at with direction, but this felt different. This felt like Logic really wanted to, you know, come back with that original sound that he popped off with early on in his career with the Young Sinatra series. So that was greatly executed. I loved his performance all throughout it. I mean, he was super genuine. He had this flow that, you know, sounded like the hunger was back in him. The cast of features that he put through again, that was fantastic, and you're gonna get a great fucking sound.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite albums of the year. Like I said, it might be my most played of the year, and to me, this is Logic's love letter to hip hop. I feel like he really wanted to show people that he's a threat in hip hop, and that he also wants that respect from his peers, and he really brought that through this showcase of amazing bars, multisyllabic rhyme schemes. Everything was on point, and I think that if you are a hip-hop head, you will appreciate everything that he does here. And to me, the album kind of plays out like an action movie, because there's constant thrills, because the songs are only 2 minutes long.
Very true.
It's a very breezy listen. I think you guys are going to love it. But let us know down in the comments what you think of the album. Our official rating is going to be amazing for this.
Yes, sir.
Without any doubt. So we're doing reviews like this for the biggest releases of the industry, guys. So subscribe if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and we'll catch you in the next one.